let's move on to topic number 4, the Olympic asylum seeker out of Belarus. And this is kind of big news, especially I don't think I've ever seen this at an Olympic game. And maybe some people will say, hey, that's you're dating yourself there, because maybe there has been. But this is also from the world of track and field. The Belarus track and field sprinter seeking asylum, saying that her country was trying to force her back from the Tokyo Games unwillingly. She said that she got dragged to the airport unwillingly, but luckily at the airport, she got help from the Tokyo officials and from the Tokyo 2020 official games. So it's good to see that at least they're stepping in to help her and protect her. But, man, this is such a crazy situation. I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of opinions on it.
I got a lot to say about this one. And, this, again, goes back to how comeback sports, we can say what we need to say here on this show. And what I say about this is another example of the Olympics just basically not caring about the conditions at these different countries. When's the last time you've heard a country being barred, besides like if it's like a doping thing, they get a slap on the wrist or something like that? But what about human rights violations? What about using the power of the Olympics for world good instead of just to line their own pockets? You hear about the different corruption in soccer and everything like that, and I wouldn't be surprised, if there's a lot of corruption in the Olympics too. But specifically about this asylum thing, Belarus is a country that is in a lot of political turmoil. You have anti-government protests that are going on. And I pulled up a couple of things here. Like this just is like a picture from the airport where she claimed asylum. But this is one of like the political prisons that they have there. So they are silencing dissent in Belarus, right? But when Belarus shows up to the Olympics, it's like, oh yeah, we have the Belarusian team here. Well, let's talk about what's going on in Belarus. And it's important, Olympics want to keep their athletes quiet. They don't want you to speak out. They want you to just act like everything's fine. It's not fine. So here we are. The story was basically that she was being forced into, I believe it was the 400-meter relay or similar. It could have been like the 4x100 relay, something like that. But it was an event that she had not trained for. And the country wanted to make it seem like they had it together and field a team. So they kind of plopped her in. She said, I did not train for this race. I never consented to being on this race, but you guys are trying to force me in. So they showed up at her hotel room and told her, hey, we've got a flight ready for you. You're on your way back to Belarus. And as you can see what's going on in Belarus, this young lady is in a position here where she can kind of put her foot down and ask for help. And thankfully, there's countries like Japan that, have a pretty good record on this sort of thing. But, if this happened, let's say in Russia or something, would the outcome have been different? If you asked for help in Russia, would you get that help? What about in China? Would you get that help? So, here we are. We have an Olympic athlete who's asking for help. And this is the sort of thing that the Olympics is probably a little bit embarrassed about. This should be like the pride of the Olympics, but they just want to keep the athletes quiet and they want to just, keep their own sponsorship dollars coming in. And that's kind of where it's at. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think the biggest thing was, she's an Olympic sprinter. And they were trying to force her onto a relay team. And I think that it's a bigger story than even that, to be honest. I think she's kind of just blowing smoke a little bit as far as she's saying that she didn't train for that, because she's a sprinter. She's qualified to run in all the sprints, to be honest. As a track and field coach, trust me, she can run a 1, she can run a 2, she can run a 4. The bigger story is that she criticized what's going on in her country.
Yep.
Yeah, and criticized what's going on back in her country. And so she feels like they're trying to strike back because she criticized the country on social media and some of the government, which I guarantee you Belarus is not going to like our coverage of what's going on over there. But, hey, sorry, that's it. And like you said, you brought up humanitarian rights, and it comes up a lot of times in sports, and rightfully so. It should. So it's just one of those things where I honestly I stand with her, and I'm glad that she's getting asylum in Poland. And it's just really one of those things where, like I said, I can't remember ever seeing this in an Olympics or more recently haven't seen it. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is that she criticized what's going on back home in her country, and her country was trying to silence her. And she's saying, no, I'm not going to stay silent. So hopefully she keeps speaking up in Poland, because she might have just put herself as the big face now of the movement in her country. And I'm sure she is garnering a lot of support there, and rightfully so. But yeah, I mean, it's a big topic, but it's one of those things where I guess we'll have to cover it over the next couple of days here.